We Won't Back Down, which was our series basically supporting the small business community of Atlanta and trying to give our small business owners all the up-to-date information on every resource they need to get through and thrive with COVID-19. And tonight's topic, I think, hits home for a lot of families, not just the small business owners, but also the employees of these small business owners. And that is, what are our options for a small business owner who wants to do right by their team, who wants to take care of their employees, yet their business is struggling and the relief programs are not coming in quick enough for them to be able to hold on to their team. So they're facing having to let go of their employees. What options do they have to set their employees up to have all the protections of the government during this time? And I could not be more proud to have Amanda Farhani here with us, who is really the gold standard of employment law attorney. She's a plaintiff employment law attorney, represents employees, and has been in some of the most famous employment law cases. She's also the founder and owner of Barrett and Farhani, which is the famous employment law firm here in Atlanta. She has been on the news. She is basically the think tank on these issues, and she has been studying up on the stimulus plan and giving so many speeches and preparing everybody and talking to employers and employees on what their options are right now. So Amanda, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So Amanda, you know the issues better than everybody, and I'm just gonna take us through them. As I said, for a lot of employees, small business owner employees, which is some of the biggest employers of this country, the EIDL package, which is supposed to give instant emergency relief in case of a disaster that you apply through SBA.gov, it's not coming quickly enough. Or it's coming, but the emergency funds, the $10,000 initial emergency fund, may not be enough to carry a small business owner through the next payroll or two. The PPP, which is the second SBA program, which is the Paycheck Protection Plan, which opened up last Friday and we can go through our banks to receive, also has caused a lot of confusion. I mean, for a lot of professional services like yours and mine, who are business owners and law firm owners, it will be a fantastic program. It will give us a lot of great cash reserve to get us through this, but it's not coming quickly enough for the restaurant owners. It's not coming quickly enough for some of the small daycares, salons, all those kind of personal services. What options do they have when they're facing their employees that they don't want to let go of, but they can't even make it through the next payroll or two? What have you been advising them? What options do you think they have right now between, should I fire them so they can get unemployment, or should I lay them off?
So, Sarah, there's the 3 different programs that are in place right now under the stimulus package. So the first one is the EIDL loan that you were talking about for individuals, corporations, so both sides, both self-employed people as well as companies, they can apply for that, even if they don't ultimately qualify for the loan or choose not to go forward with the loan. That has a $10,000 component. But as of 2 weeks ago, that $10,000, that grant and all of those loans were already 250,000 companies behind. So that's going slowly. And so is everything that's being put in place, because this is coming quick and fast. The government is trying to keep up, and it's difficult. The second one is the payroll protection program. And so that's going to be any employer that's got any kind of payroll. They'll be able to cover the cost of their rent, their utilities, a mortgage on, at least interest on a mortgage, and payroll, which includes health benefits and retirement benefits. So what that is that people can go apply by showing their payroll costs and get 2.5 times their payroll. And that's a benefit, obviously, that's pretty significant. If people choose to hold on to the cash and not pay it, it's a 1%, actually a 0.98% loan. Yeah, so it's pretty good return on the cash right there for people who want to carry it out. But the idea of that is that you can bring back people that you have already laid off. So people that you had to let go that are out, you bring them back, and this is to cover your payroll. You have to actually spend that money in 8 weeks after you get it. And so if you don't spend it in that 8 weeks, and if you don't spend at least 75% on your payroll, then that money is going to become a loan. But if you do it that way and you spend that money, then that's going to end up being a forgivable loan, and there's not going to be any cost to the employer at all. So those are great programs that are in place for everyone. And so I'm telling self-employed people to apply for both of those, as well as business owners to apply for them. The next and the last thing is really the only thing that's out there for employees. So, for those that are making less than $75,000, a married household with 2 kids is going to get $1,200 to each parent, $500 for each kid. But that's a one-time package, and those are supposed to be coming soon. But again, those have taken time, and they haven't come yet. So the last option is the pandemic unemployment assistance. And what that is that for everybody who's unemployed, they're going to get their base rate of unemployment plus an additional $600 a week. And that's going to go from March 29th to July 31st. So once people get their checks, then they're actually going to be backdated to March 29th. And so they're going to get a greater sum to start with. And then going forward, they're going to have that additional $600 each week. So that applies to anybody who's unemployed. That means the self-employed, the underemployed, as well as the unemployed. So for people who aren't able to keep anyone on right now, the thing to do is going to be to put them onto unemployment. And the important thing to remember is that it's got to be the employer that goes in and puts them onto unemployment themselves, as opposed to having the employee go and do that. The reason
that is a key thing for business owners to keep in mind.
Yes, because
that's not typically how that is initiated.
Correct. Typically, the way that it's handled is that the employee goes and files for unemployment. The employer has 10 days in which to come back and to say the reason for unemployment, whether it's disputed, whether it's a termination, and then the decision is made. But if that's something that is charged against the employer, then the employer's rate of taxes for their payroll is going to go up. Under these circumstances, as long as the employer lays off the individuals and files on their behalf for unemployment, then the insurance is going to kick in for that, and there isn't going to be any charge to employers. So really right now, if there's not money to pay people, the best thing to do is to go ahead and lay them off or furlough them. And then once you get the packages in place, you've got that cash flow. The whole goal of that is to be able to bring that money back in.
So to be clear, because I get this question from business owners, and a lot of our clients at Lemon Force Law Group are business owners, they don't have to fire them in order for the employee to go get the unemployment rights. It can be through a furlough, through laying them off, and you initiating the unemployment process on the behalf of your employee.
Yes.
And you have the option of bringing them back in once you've overcome this period.
Exactly. And the employee is protected all the way through to July 31st if that happens. Even if you bring them back part-time, typically if an employee makes $50 a week, they're off of unemployment, but now it's actually been raised to $300 a week. So an employee, you can even have them working part-time, you can be paying them in part and still have the unemployment insurance to kick in and to cover that additional amount. So for restaurant workers and people who are on the lower side of income, this is a great boost to them because they wouldn't be getting this unemployment amount to start with. In Georgia, the rates are between $44 and $330 a week. And so even if you make $1 million and you're laid off, you're still only going to get $330 a week under any type of normal circumstances.
Amanda, one other thing I wanted to clarify for our employers, our business owners, the payment protection plan, for it to be forgivable, like you mentioned, you would have to retain those employees, but they're not looking at the specific employees, as they're looking at the number of employees. Is that correct?
That's right. So the average number of employees. So if you start off with 10, you have 10 to end with, then you're going to be fine with that. The applications that I've seen are asking how many people do you have? So it's important to make sure you do this correctly. And then how many people are you going to retain with this money and how many jobs are going to be created? So, I know for us, what we're looking to do right now is see how can we bring people into the firm who need to work and might be losing their jobs. And at this point in time, wanting to help people, which is what we do. We help people. And so we're seeing this as maybe a possible way for us to be expanding and bringing in those kinds of jobs as well.
It is a wonderful opportunity for employers right now who want to expand and want to use this as an opportunity to grow and pivot. There's a lot of superstar employees out there right now that would love to stay at their current job, but their company's in a dire situation and they're looking for work. And if you are in a situation like Amanda, you're describing, it's a wonderful time right now to go out and hire some people and help families out and and also thrive because of it, because you're just adding more superstars to your team. Before I move on to advice you would give to the employee right now, you mentioned something important, which is you're telling anybody that's self-employed to apply for both. And so if somebody that's self-employed and is 1099 or works as a contract worker, what do you recommend they do? Do you recommend they go and file for unemployment as well?
Yes. So it's not in place yet, but under the PUA, which is the Pandemic Unemployment Insurance Act, that is giving self-employed people unemployment. And so typically unemployment happens if there's a W-2 employee, the employee has had enough money put into the system to have them be a covered employee, and then they can go file for unemployment. But under the circumstances that have come through with the stimulus, what's happening is those people who are self-employed and some gig in the contract workers are going to be able to go and apply for unemployment. So for the small business owners who have had a reduction in their pay, which is obviously the companies that are going out of business too, there is also the unemployment insurance that's going in effect. So guidance is coming out on that on April 10th. It's supposed to already be in place by April 10th, but the entire government system is having a hard time pivoting themselves because the technology they have and the systems they have set up are for dealing with the W-2 income. So they're trying to put into place what guidance about what is going to need to be shown, whether it's tax returns. They're talking about making it a lot easier than that, to having just paychecks or something that shows direct deposits into your bank account, anything to make it super easy. But for people who are small business owners, many of them are going to be eligible for all three of the programs. So I have some friends who do legal work and do everything from mediation to other kinds of things, and that's the advice I'm giving to them too.
So go ahead and apply for all three.
All three, yeah. And most don't think of the self-employed unemployment insurance, but that's an additional $2,400 a week. I mean,
that's something right now.
Yeah.
Amanda, your clients are employees. What advice are you giving the employee that's coming to you and saying, they're still keeping me on. There's been wage reduction after wage reduction. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think even more than layoffs, we're just seeing wage reductions right now, which makes the employee more and more uneasy that is the writing on the wall that next up is layoff. What advice would you give them at this point? Should they sit tight for more wage reduction? Should they go ahead and try to ask their boss to ask for unemployment for them?
I think it depends on what their situation is. So if they're reduced more than 75%, then the employer is not going to be able to have that forgiveness on the loan. So there shouldn't, or more than 25%, so that they have 75% of their pay. So that's going to be the first thing. Depending on who the employer is, the hope is that these payroll protections going to bring people back up to their normal wages. And that's going to be one of the things that the numbers are going to be based on. What's forgivable is based on how much you were spending. And so that's one of the options. One of the things that we're seeing that's happening with some employers is that they've been letting people go in anticipation for the sick leave options and the FMLA options that are out there. So right now, for those employees that can't telework, or those employees who are not essential workers, they're going to have the option of taking 2 weeks of sick leave that's paid, and then additional 10 weeks of FMLA, basically sick leave paid as well, if they have their children at home. Of course, everybody does, and they don't have the childcare. So, so that's right now.
Which most people don't right now because of the shelter in place anyway.
Who's going to be coming into each other's homes, right? So
right.
That's an option right now. And there's going to be money given to the companies who do that in order to deal with that. It's not coming right now, which is part of the problem. The employers are shouldering that. But that's in place for every employer from 500 employees down. And that's very new. FMLA didn't apply before to employers that were smaller than 50 employees. There is an exemption for small businesses so that if they would be unable to continue working if they had that person out, then that's not going to be something that they're having to pay. But those are the things that we're advising employees on right now is if they're home and with childcare, then they should be asking for that sick leave so that they can have that benefit for up to 12 weeks. And of course, if they're sick or if they are, exposed to it, that's another option there.
Right.
Another coverage for that. Yeah.
Amanda, tell us how, for anybody that's listening and needs to seek up your firm, how they can find Barrett and Farhani.
So we are at justiceatwork.com. I
love that name.
Yeah, we were very happy with it. We had someone help us coming up with names years and years ago. And as soon as she said it, that's the one, that's us. And so, I love the double meaning of it. And, that's what. So we represent employees in employment situations, everything from the top level executive negotiating them in and out of companies to handling overtime pay. And I do personally a lot of sexual harassment and sexual assault cases and any kind of equality issues for women, be it equal pay and other kinds of things too.
Amanda, I haven't told you this, but I graduated UGA Law at 2008, and my first year of having to take a continuing legal education course, I chose to take an employment law course, and you were speaking at that CLE, and I was a young attorney that just graduated law school, and I could tell by your name that you were from Persian descent like me, and you just got up there and you spoke on that stage at the Georgia State Bar. And I was mesmerized and I was like, wow, that's what a lawyer looks like. And it was so inspiring to see a woman of a mutual background being so articulate and so well looked up to by all the other attorneys and the male and female bar. And so thank you so much for just being such an inspiration, not just to women lawyers, but to really people out there that are fighting the good fight. And that's really you when I think about what you do. But I also want to shine a light on something else that you do, because you're more than just an attorney. You're also a business owner, which is why it's so wonderful to have you here talking to the small business owners, because you have skin in this game as well, just the rest of us. And I'm not just talking about your law firm that you're the owner of. You founded and started a new business called Panda recently, and this happened actually before the virus took over. And I'm not going to spoil the fun. Could you tell us a little bit about what Panda is and why it's so crazy relevant to what we're all going through right now?
Yeah, so My Panda is the personal assistant next door app. And our pandas are people who are typically, as I say it, I wanted a wife. And so I wanted to find an app that I could get one because I need an extra set of hands to deal with all the stuff. Because like you said, I'm a business owner. We have 25 people who work for the firm. That keeps me busy. And so I don't always have the time to do the things I need to do. So we created the app, and we have it set up to connect people in the local communities to each other so that people who live and work close to each other are helping each other to get things done. We started it in 2018, went live with the app in September of 19, had planned on really ramping up this year slowly through some of the Atlanta area. But when this all started happening, I realized that this is a need that people have right now. And with everyone losing their job, that there's something I can do to get people employed. And so my goal is to employ 1,000 people in a month. I'll talk to you in a month and see how we've done. But what we have are the pandas who are able to help do grocery shopping, deliveries, prepaid pickups, go to any store. One of the ones that we're seeing the most traction from is the liquor and wine stores. And so, so pandas are going.
Makes sense.
I know. I actually saw a story yesterday that said liquor sales are up 235%. So it makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Having their virtual happy hours and trying to.
Yes, that's right.
They have wine. So we're doing that, servicing people's vacation homes. So if they're away from home, making sure that the mail comes in and that everything is safe
That's
there.
so smart.
Yeah, but most of what we're getting is this shopping and delivery. And so, there's some companies that are out there that do some of those types of things, but they're not going to go to Home Depot for you and the grocery store and stop and pick up some office supplies.
I've actually tried to use Uber for that. I've actually tried, and it's a process. It's hard to do, but I've actually tried to I've ordered my Uber to go to my parents' house to pick something up, to bring it to me. And you have to follow the guy. And he's like, what do you want me to do? So this is so brilliant. And this is something that we've always needed, but right now I'm just thinking of myself as a business owner. What a wonderful way to not have to ask my employees to leave their home while they're working virtually and assisting our clients to go check on the mail at the office or go deliver that FedEx package that we have to get out. This is just such a wonderful thing for business owners also. I can think of a million ways as a mom, as a professional, why I need it personally, but I'm thinking just for my business, this helps us keep going. This helps us thrive through this time.
Yeah. And the flip side of it is for our pandas, we're paying them $20 an hour. And so,
and I love that you call them pandas. So can you tell us what PANDA stands for?
Personal Assistant Next Door App.
I love that.
Yes. And so our pandas are able to go and do this and still do well. So the $20 is the minimum. Depending on how the jobs go, they end up making more than that. And so we're, with all the Macy's workers who've been let go, all of the restaurant workers who've been let go. There's so many people right now that need work, and to see employees losing their jobs that's what I do. Is I'm an employment lawyer. So I want to see people employed and treated well. So I think now we can bring people in, give them work, and we can help people and the vulnerable to stay home so that they don't have to go out. We can make sure that less people are out doing things by having this happen. And, if you've got an elderly parent who lives in another neighborhood, for example, you can send a panda to go grocery shop and go bring it to them. And, so there's a lot of ways that it can help. So I'm trying very quickly to ramp that up.
You're a busy woman.
Yeah, well, other than shopping at the mall, going out with friends, bar hopping at night, I really have nothing else to do right now.
Yeah, exactly. Getting your nails done and going to the barber. Yeah. Where can they find My Panda?
So My Panda is mypandaapp.com. And from there, you can download the app. We're also in the Apple Store. So if you go to the Apple Store and type in My Panda without a space, you'll find us, or My Panda Services is another way that we come up. But then you can just download us. Once you download us, we're in most of the neighborhoods in Atlanta right now. We're very quickly expanding outside of those too. And so if I think we're out to Alpharetta right now. So thank you. Yeah. So, spread the word, tell people to use us, and tell people to apply and work for us. So we're going through, we do background checks, we do identity vetting and security checks behind them to make sure everyone's okay. And we're hoping to take those people who have been working for Instacart for almost nothing and driving 60 miles to do it. We limit our service areas for our pandas so that they're in what we call the Grove. So they have a panda grove that they work in, and so they can live and work in the same place that they are, not drive 60 miles and make $8 for doing that.
I think what you're doing in the shared labor economy and the gig economy is another option for just the business owners who are looking to give something else for their employees to do during this time. Is a great thing to turn them into, to keep them also productive, because these guys don't want to be at home doing nothing. It's a big loss of.
Yeah.
Amanda, thank you so much for tonight. I appreciate you spending this time with me in your late evening, and you shared a lot of information that I think will help both employees and employers on both sides. Most of the business owners I know out there in the community we're trying to help, this is just as painful for them to watch their work family having to be let go. So it's at least we can give them some resources, some solutions for how to do it, and hopefully retain everybody back. And thank you for all the ways you're giving back to the community.
Thank you. It's great to see you.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.